We have actually more power in D.C. because it's, I can change the mayor if I want. I can do whatever I want.
Just like groceries, the new term that Donald Trump just invented, he has created a new theory of American jurisprudence. He calls it the quick trial. It's amazing to me. When I was on the Nazi Twitter, before it was the Nazi Twitter, all these conservatives who talk about, I'm a constitutionalist. I was just in Idaho. Like, I had COVID for a week, kind of lost a whole week, several days just gone, vanished. But the week before that, I was in Idaho, and I saw dipshits driving around in the back of their trucks. They've got flags and eagles and we the people in giant script on their trucks. And they act like they have some fealty, some loyalty, some duty to, some honor, some oath to the Constitution. But it is clear on a daily basis that these fucking morons don't know anything about the Constitution. They have zero knowledge about what the processes were to create this document, to compile the concepts within it. That our founders, for all of their faults, for all of their violation of human rights and ownership of human beings as property, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, so many others, that they were brilliant men who, many of them spoke like ancient, like Greek and the classical languages. And they understood philosophy at its root basis levels. They understood democracy and different forms of democracy. And we landed on the constitutional republic, which is a form of democracy. Conservative dipshits, they still don't even understand that. And in it, they enshrined in the Sixth Amendment of the Constitution a right to a speedy trial. Or the new term that Donald Trump, just like groceries, Donald Trump, he calls it the quick trial, as though it's something he just came up with. Anyway, let me show you this clip, and then we're going to go in, because really what Donald Trump is doing is wanting to refashion our judicial system on what China has going on. He's bragging about and giving examples of how they do it in China, the same country that we oppose, our mortal enemy, according to Donald Trump. But he wants to model his dictatorial reign off a dictatorial system where they don't have freedom of expression. They don't have freedom like we have it here. Watch Donald Trump invent the concept of the speedy trial.
He did to her was unbelievable. And then he walks through, the knife is dripping blood and everything else. One thing I say, we have to have quick trials. Yeah. I call it quick trial, because in China, they do have quick trials, They don't wait 6 years and
you start off guilty and you end up guilty in China.
Oh, it's terrible. What happens here is you go through 7, 8 years, and by the time it ends, and then they say, well, he had a reason to do it because he wasn't treated right in grade school, and it's his teacher's fault, and it's the government's fault. That guy they should have a trial the following day, as far as. But do you know that they said? I mean, when you have somebody on tape, here's a guy on tape getting ready to, and then he did his thing. The whole thing is on tape. This should not be going on. This trial will go on. It'll start in 2, 3, 4 years. We have to have, in certain places that do it differently, they have what's called quick trial.
One, let me get this out of the way before I get into the Sixth Amendment very briefly. It's not going to be a constitutional lesson here, but if we had a system where you have the trial the very next day, Donald Trump would be absolutely down the river, or whatever the phrase is, because he would have been found guilty of absconding with national security secrets that were top secret when he had no authority to declassify them. He would have been absolutely convicted for his role in the insurrection against the country, his attempted, just like he would have been treated like Jair Bolsonaro is in Brazil right now, who just got found guilty. They know how to deal with their traitors in other countries. We had Merrick Garland. An ocean of difference between how we deal with things here, apparently. Joe Biden really shit the bed by appointing Merrick Garland as the attorney general. But let's get to Donald Trump. I call it the quick trial. the quick trial. This is the Sixth Amendment of the United States Constitution. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed. Speedy and public trial. That's the Sixth Amendment. It's a core, fundamental principle in American jurisprudence. Donald Trump didn't come up with I call it the quick trial. The founders, the people who framed our government, who founded this country, they already called it something, and they called it the speedy trial, Donald Trump. This was all, by the way, in a discussion about the further invasion of American cities by the United States military. Just like Donald Trump has done here in the city in which I live, Washington, D.C. He has invaded the United States Capitol with the National Guard, with armed now military troops. They are occupying the city. I mean, some of them are just walking around picking up trash away from their actual jobs as teachers and managers at retail stores. But, you know, it's very important that they clean up around the White House. And he starts listing the cities that he's looking at invading, starting with Memphis, Tennessee.
What's going to happen?
So I think maybe I'll be the first to say it right now again. We're going to Memphis. Memphis is
That's the next city.
Deeply troubled. And the mayor is happy. He's a Democrat mayor. The mayor is happy. And the governor, Tennessee, the governor is happy. Deeply troubled. We're going to fix that just like we did Washington. I would have preferred going to Chicago. I had a man in the head of a big railroad. They're doing a merger, and he wanted to come see me and all that stuff. And I asked him, because, you know, it's one of the largest train companies, maybe the largest, so you can figure out who it is. Okay, Union Pacific. And he was in my office, and he started off 45 years ago with the railroad. It's such a great story. Sir, I'm a railroader. That's the kind of guy that should ride it, you know, as opposed to a Wall Street guy that destroys the railroad, but he's good financially, right? And he was a very impressive guy. And I said, so what do you think? Where should we go next as a city? Because we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and then we'll do a few at a time. But we're going to straighten out the crime in these cities. He said, sir, Memphis would be good because he's on the board of FedEx. He said, when I walk 1 block to my hotel, they won't allow me to do it. They put me in an armored vehicle with bulletproof glass to take me 1 block. He said, it's so terrible. I said, let me ask you a question. So we're going to Memphis. I'm just announcing that now, and we'll straighten that out.
National Guard?
The National Guard and anybody else we need. And by the way, we'll bring in the military, too, if we need it. But National Guard. But Memphis is, look, it's a great music city. It's, you know, home of Elvis and everything else.
Look, I'll say the same thing I've said about D.C., the same thing I've said about this entire nonsense plan of Donald Trump. One, it is against the law. It violates the Posse Comitatus Act. The Posse Comitatus Act. You cannot use law enforcement. You cannot use the United States military as law enforcement within the borders of the United States. Full stop. It's just not an option. So they have a workaround because they've got a bunch of lawyers who are like, well, they're not really doing law enforcement. They're just backing up law enforcement. They're just there to support and protect federal facilities. That's how you can have mass troops invade and occupy a city. It's for intimidation. And Donald Trump is champing at the bit for an incident where a troop murders a citizen. He just cannot wait for that because there will be unrest if that happens. Even if Memphis was deeply troubled, as he says, it is not. But even if it was, it does not justify military occupation of an American city. As Donald Trump puts AI slop-generated memes of him as the Robert Duvall character from Apocalypse Now, talking about a declaration of war against an American city. Chicago in that case. Which is where this conversation led. He's listing cities that he's getting ready to invade. It went from Memphis, and then he briefly talked about Chicago before again shifting to Washington, D.C.
What happened? I can fix Chicago, much bigger than D.C., but we can bring in the military. We can bring in the National Guard. We'll do what we have to do. You know, the people in D.C. are so happy. They bring coffee to the National Guard.
Mr. President, now the 30 days is up. And does everything, is there
well, the mayor's asked us to stay.
Well, how do you?
So we have a Democrat mayor who's asked us to stay. And D.C.'s a little bit different because I could federalize it if I want. You know, D.C.'s a little bit different. So we have a lot. We have actually more power in D.C. because it's, you know, I can change the mayor if I want. I can do whatever I want. I haven't had to. We've had a great relationship with the mayor. We've had a great relationship. Everybody's happy.
And all of this, did you hear that? All of this is based on the fact that we'll play it again. We'll just play it again. Donald Trump thinks I can do whatever I want.
I could federalize it if I want. You know, D.C.'s a little bit different. So we have a lot. We have actually more power in D.C. because it's, you know, I can change the mayor if I want. I can do whatever I want.
That isn't true. There are very defined restrictions on Donald Trump. He is not a king. Look, there's getting ready to be another No Kings protest, I believe, next month. Brittany Page and I are going to be out of the country on vacation, a very much needed vacation. I'll announce who's going to be guest hosting for me in a little bit, or in a few days. But I'm bummed that this is when that protest is going to be. I would advise, I would recommend, I would encourage you to take part in that because Donald Trump thinks he's a king. I can do whatever I want, says a democratically elected public servant. You're a servant, Donald Trump, a public servant. You are not a king. You are not an emperor. You are not the leader of my cult, brother, because I am not a member of one. I serve no man. I serve no God. We need a little bit, whatever that phrase is, that saying is about becoming ungovernable. We need a lot more of that attitude in this country. It used to be the attitude that I was raised under, to be ungovernable. This libertarian idea of individualism and that the government's overreach. And now they've just stretched their necks out for the boot of tyranny. Welcoming it. Please, please, Trump. Please, Daddy Trump. Step on my neck, Daddy. Again, Republican eroticism. I know I bang the drum, but it just gets more and more clear every single day. Become ungovernable. What do you think? I would appreciate your feedback here. You can comment below wherever you're watching the video. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. Or, as always, the old-fashioned way, you can email me on the internets, daily@dollemore.com. Please consider, I invite your support for $2 up to $1.99 a month. You can help produce these videos, help me reach the millions, some months tens of millions of people. I would absolutely appreciate your support. I welcome it. You can click the join button below this video on YouTube, become a channel member, again, $2 a month, or even better, go over to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast and support over there. I love and appreciate you very much. I'll see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.